The galactic archives were older than most stars. They floated at the center of known space, a massive structure of silver rings and dark glass. Inside them were the memories of the galaxy, every war, every treaty, every battle ever fought. Nothing important was ever lost, nothing ever disappeared. That was the belief. Archivist Trellin had worked there for 300 cycles. He had seen records of empires rising and falling, fleets burning, and worlds breaking apart. War always left marks. Even the smallest clash created data, signals, debris, radiation, something. So when his screen showed nothing, his hands froze. He leaned closer to the display. The file number was correct. The fleet name was correct. The date was correct. But the record itself was empty. No mission log, no battle report, no final transmission. Just a blank space where thousands of ships should have been remembered. Trellin felt a cold fear spread through his body. "This must be an error," he whispered. He called up the backup systems, then the backups of the backups. He searched deep storage, dark archives, and sealed war vaults. Nothing. An entire galactic suppression fleet, sent to enforce order at the edge of known space, had vanished from history. That had never happened before. Within hours, the silence in the archives was broken. Council overseers arrived, military analysts followed, artificial minds scanned every system at impossible speed. The archive slowed, strained, and hummed with confusion. The missing fleet was not small. It was one of the strongest ever assembled. Thousands of warships, veteran commanders, enough firepower to crush a dozen star systems. They had been sent toward a quiet region of space, an area marked as low threat, a place controlled by humans. The name alone caused some council members to relax. Humans avoid conflict, one analyst said. They negotiate, said another. They trade, they record, they talk, a third added. Humans were not warriors. At least, that was what the galaxy believed. Still, a fleet did not simply disappear. Scouts were sent. The scout ships returned days later. Their reports made no sense. Human space was calm, too calm. Trade lanes were open. Stations functioned normally. Civilian ships moved without fear. There were no signs of war, no wreckage, no emergency signals, no radiation storms. It was as if nothing had happened at all. One scout captain spoke quietly during the council meeting. "We found no battle damage," he said, "but we also found no trace of the fleet, not even debris." Another captain added, "Our sensors detected something strange. The area felt cleaned." The word echoed in the chamber. Cleaned. High Commander Vareth, a veteran of 7 major wars, leaned forward. "Fleets do not vanish," he said slowly. "Even when destroyed, they leave scars." He turned toward the human sector display. Did the humans report anything? A junior official checked his data. No distress calls, no warnings, no requests for aid, no records at all. The room grew silent. That was impossible. Every species recorded conflict. Some recorded too much. Logs, backups, copies, history depended on them. Records were proof of survival. Vareth's eyes narrowed. Then either the fleet never arrived, or something happened that left no trace. A third option remained unspoken. Something erased the trace. Far from the council chamber, in human space, a small observation station orbited a quiet star. Inside, human officers watched simple screens, no alarms, no flashing lights, just calm voices and steady data. A woman in a dark uniform reviewed a short report. "Confirmation?" she asked. A man beside her nodded. "Complete. No records? None that matter." She closed the file. It vanished from the system without a sound. Outside the station, space looked empty and peaceful. No one watching would guess what had passed through there. Back at the Galactic Archives, panic began to grow. Analysts compared star maps. They traced possible escape routes. They ran simulations. Nothing fit. The fleet's last known position was just inside human space. After that, the data line ended. Not cut, not corrupted, ended. One artificial intelligence spoke, its voice cold and exact. Probability of natural disaster, near zero. Probability of system failure across all fleet units, impossible. Probability of unknown hostile action, increasing. "By whom?" someone asked. The AI paused. "Data insufficient." That answer frightened the council more than any accusation. Commander Vareth stood again. "There is something we do not understand about humans. They appear weak because they do not show strength. They appear peaceful because they do not celebrate victory." He looked around the chamber. What if the absence of records is not a failure? What if it is the point? The thought spread through the room like poison. Trellin returned to his station later that cycle. He stared again at the empty file. Every record told a story, but this one told nothing, and that is what terrified him most. He realized then that the galaxy might have misunderstood something very important. Records were not proof of power. Sometimes they were proof of limits. And maybe, just maybe, humans had learned how to fight without leaving any proof at all. Trellin saved a private note, hidden deep in the archives. "If history cannot see them, how do we defend against them?" The screen dimmed. The file remained empty. And somewhere beyond the stars, humanity stayed silent.
For most of the galaxy, humans were easy to ignore. They did not build the largest ships. They did not rule many systems. They did not shout about power or threaten neighbors. Humans traded. Humans repaired. Humans observed. In the early days, when humanity first entered galactic space, many species laughed at them. Human ships looked plain. Their weapons were simple. Their diplomats spoke softly and asked too many questions. They recorded everything. That was what the galaxy noticed most. Humans kept logs of trade routes, star patterns, alien languages, and ancient wars. They studied history with great care. They listened more than they spoke. So the galaxy placed them into a category: harmless. The Galactic Council had long files on humanity. Non-aggressive, one report said. Risk-averse, said another. Highly cooperative, said a third. Humans avoided large wars. When conflict reached their borders, they stepped back. They offered supplies. They offered repairs. Sometimes they even paid stronger empires to leave them alone. Many believed humans were afraid. No one considered another explanation. Commander Vareth reviewed those old reports again. He sat alone in a dark chamber, staring at human data that now felt incomplete. "These records tell us what humans show," he said quietly, "not what they hide." An aide shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, humans do not have a military history worth concern." Vareth looked at him. "Non-visible history," he corrected. The aide said nothing. Long before the missing fleet, humans had learned a lesson the galaxy never did. Every battle recorded was a battle studied. Every tactic logged was a weakness shared. Every victory celebrated was a warning given. Humans learned this the hard way. In their early wars, enemies copied them, adapted, survived. So humanity changed. They stopped fighting loudly. They stopped recording everything. And when they did fight, they made sure no one could learn from it. On a quiet human world, far from trade lanes, a young officer studied old human doctrine. The words were simple, direct. If you must fight, remove the lesson. The officer frowned. Remove the lesson? An older commander beside him nodded. If the enemy learns how you win, you lose later. But history? History is for survivors, not for enemies, the commander replied. The missing galactic fleet had entered human space believing the old records. They expected messages, warnings, negotiations. They expected humans to speak. Instead, humans listened. Human sensors tracked every ship. Human systems mapped every formation. Human minds studied every pattern, and they did it silently. No signals were sent, no threats were made, no warnings were given. The galaxy would later call it cruelty. Humans called it efficiency. Back in the Galactic Council, fear slowly replaced confusion. A new report arrived. Human trade stations showed no record of fleet contact. Human communication logs were clean. Human traffic data showed no spikes. It was as if the fleet had never existed. One council member spoke the fear aloud. Maybe humans did not record the battle. Another corrected him. Maybe they did not record anything. Vareth closed his eyes. He remembered stories from ancient wars, rumors whispered by veterans of other species, fleets lost in human territory, signals that cut off suddenly, wars that ended without explanation. Each time the records were unclear. Each time the galaxy moved on, because moving on was easier than asking why. In human space, life continued. Children went to schools, ships moved goods, stations hummed with quiet activity. No celebrations, no victory announcements, because humans did not celebrate survival, they expected it. In a small command room, the woman from before watched a star map fade. "Any external traces?" she asked. "None," came the reply. "Internal?" "Archived and sealed." She nodded once. Then it never happened. Humans believed silence was protection, not hiding, control. They controlled what the galaxy knew about them, and more importantly, what it did not. The galaxy saw humans as quiet, but quiet did not mean weak. Quiet meant watching. The galactic archives continued to search. Still nothing. Archivist Trellin felt his fear deepen. He realized something terrible. The missing fleet was not an accident. It was not a disaster. It was not even a mystery. It was a message written in absence. Trellin wrote another hidden note. Humans do not leave records because records invite repetition. His hands shook as he saved it. Commander Vareth finally spoke before the full council. "We sent force where we should have sent questions, and humans answered in a language we do not understand. "What language is that?" someone asked. Vareth paused. Silence. The galaxy had always believed that power demanded noise. Large fleets, bright explosions, endless records. Humanity had chosen another path. A path where battles ended before they were known, where victory left no scars, and where enemies vanished without teaching anyone how it was done. As the council chamber fell silent, one truth became clear. The missing fleet was not the danger. The danger was a species that could erase war itself and never feel the need to explain.
The Galactic Fleet entered human space with confidence. Their ships moved in perfect formation, thousands of them cutting through the dark. Shields were active but relaxed. Weapons stayed powered down. There was no sign of danger. The fleet commander, Admiral Corthan, watched the star map calmly. "Human space is quiet," he said, "as expected." His officers agreed. No warning signals, no border defenses, no hostile scans, only empty space and distant stars. The fleet continued forward. Minutes passed. Then something felt wrong. Not an alarm, not a sound, a feeling. One navigation officer frowned at his screen. "Admiral, our position markers are drifting." Corthan stepped closer. "Explain." "The stars are not matching expected movement." The Admiral narrowed his eyes. "Recalibrate." The officer did. The stars shifted again. No alarm sounded. Across the fleet, small problems appeared. A cruiser lost engine efficiency. A carrier reported delayed commands. A supply ship showed false fuel levels. Each issue was minor. Together, they were not. Still, no alarms. The fleet trusted its systems. That was its first mistake. Admiral Corthan ordered a full diagnostic sweep. The command was sent. The fleet waited. Nothing returned. The message had been received, the system confirmed it, but the data never came back. Corthan felt a slow chill. Run it again. Again, the system confirmed. Again, no data. No error, no warning, just silence. Then, the first ship disappeared. Not exploded, not damaged, gone. One moment it was there, the next empty space. The officer watching its signal stared in shock. "Admiral, Ship 17 is no longer on sensors." Corthan snapped, "Lost signal?" "No, sir, it is not lost, it is removed." That word spread through the bridge. Removed. The fleet tightened formation. Weapons powered up. Shields strengthened. Still no alarms. The human space around them remained calm. Too calm. Another ship vanished. Then another. Each time there was no explosion, no debris, no distress call, nothing to record. Corthan ordered combat logs activated. "Record everything," he said. The system confirmed. Seconds later, the logs showed nothing. Entries appeared for a moment, then erased themselves. The data vanished as soon as it formed. A systems officer whispered, "Admiral, the logs are deleting themselves." Corthan's voice hardened. Impossible. Yet the screens showed the truth. The fleet was fighting something that did not want to be remembered. Human systems worked without sound. Invisible fields bent space slightly. Energy drains fed on shield power. Gravity traps slowed ships until engines failed. No beams, no missiles, no visible attack. The fleet did not know where to aim. They fired anyway. Bright weapons cut through empty space. They hit nothing. Panic began to grow. Orders were delayed. Commands arrived incomplete. Ships stopped responding. Still, no alarms. Human warfare did not trigger fear responses. It bypassed them. A battleship tried to turn back. Its engines flared, then stopped. The ship froze, locked in place by unseen forces. Moments later, it collapsed inward, crushed by its own weight. No explosion followed, just silence. Admiral Corthan stood rigid. "Who is attacking us?" he demanded. No one answered. Sensors showed no enemy ships, no human fleet, nothing. The idea struck him like a blade. He whispered, "They are not here. They are everywhere." Across human command space, quiet screens displayed data streams. Human officers spoke in low voices. Phase 2 confirmed. Containment stable. Memory suppression active. No excitement, no anger, just control. One officer asked, "Any external signals?" "None," came the reply. "Good," the commander said. "Proceed." Back in the fleet, fear turned into chaos. Ships tried to flee. Some vanished mid-jump. Others arrived nowhere, their navigation broken beyond repair. Crew members screamed for help. Their signals went nowhere, not blocked, deleted. The fleet attempted one final action, a wide-area distress beacon. It activated. The light spread across space. Then it faded. No one received it, not even the fleet itself. Admiral Corthan realized the truth too late. This was not a battle. It was a process, a system designed to erase threats quietly. The humans had built a war that left no evidence, a war that did not need alarms. The last ships drifted helplessly. Human drones moved in, small, silent, almost invisible. They did not attack. They shut systems down. Power, life support, memory cores. Clean, precise. In the final moments, Corthan tried to speak. His words were not recorded. His ship faded from sensors. Space returned to calm. From the outside, nothing had changed. Stars shone. Trade lanes remained clear. No battle scars, no warnings, no records. Far away, Archivist Trellin felt an unease he could not explain. A blank space in history had just grown larger, and somewhere in that silence, humanity continued to watch.
When the last galactic ship went silent, there was no sound of victory. No explosions lit the stars. No debris fields drifted through space. No signals marked the end. Space simply became empty again. To anyone watching from far away, it looked peaceful. That was exactly how humans wanted it. In human command space, the final confirmation arrived. "All hostile vessels neutralized," an officer said. "Any survivors?" the commander asked. "None capable of communication." The commander nodded slowly. "Begin phase closure." Phase closure was not destruction, it was cleaning. Human systems activated across the region. Energy fields collapsed carefully. Gravity distortions faded. Hidden structures powered down. Every trace of conflict was removed step by step. Not rushed, not emotional, precise. Wreckage did not drift, it dissolved. Human machines broke ships into raw matter, separating metals, energy cells, and data cores.
Useful material was collected. Dangerous material was erased. Nothing was left behind, not even dust. The memory tours from the fleet were processed last. Human analysts reviewed them without judgment. Tactical data, command patterns, weapon responses. Then the data was sealed, not destroyed, locked away where it could never be found. Knowledge was power, but only when controlled. One officer paused as the final core went dark. "That fleet never existed," he said quietly. The commander answered, "Correct, and neither did this battle." Far across the galaxy, the Galactic Council waited. Hours passed. Days passed. No messages arrived. No distress calls. No survivors. The missing fleet remained missing, and with every passing cycle, fear grew. Archivist Traylon returned again to the empty record. He searched deeper than ever before. Sensor echoes, quantum shadows, time distortions. There were faint hints of something. Then even those vanished. It was as if reality itself had agreed to forget. Commander Vareth studied star charts with tired eyes. The human-controlled region showed normal activity. Trade ships moved freely. Stations reported no damage. No war. No conflict. Nothing. Vareth spoke to the council. "If humans fought this battle," he said, "they did it in a way that cannot be traced." "And if they did not?" someone asked. Vareth answered, "Then we face a mystery greater than war." On a distant human station, the commander reviewed the final report. "All systems restored to civilian profile," an officer said. "Any external observation?" "None detected." The commander leaned back, then resumed normal operations. There was no celebration, just another day. Human civilians never knew. They did not see the fleet. They did not hear the warnings. They did not feel the danger. That was by design. War to humans was a failure of prevention. If civilians noticed, something had gone wrong. The galaxy searched for proof. They sent probes. They questioned traders. They studied background radiation. Every search ended the same way. Nothing. The war had not only been won, it had been erased. Some council members argued. Perhaps the fleet changed course. Perhaps it was destroyed by a natural event. Vareth rejected them all. "Natural events leave evidence," he said. "This leaves intention." The most disturbing truth slowly became clear. The humans had not fought to win. They had fought to remove the fight itself. No enemy, no lesson, no memory. That was their victory. In the galactic archives, Traylon closed his eyes. History depended on records. Without them, the past could not warn the future. Humans had broken that rule. They had built a weapon that erased warnings. A secret council vote was held. Human space was reclassified, not as hostile, not as friendly, but as unknown. It was the highest threat category. On the human side, that decision was never noticed. Human systems detected the change. They logged it. Then they archived it quietly. No response was sent. The stars where the fleet had vanished now held nothing. No scar, no echo, no name. A battle had happened there, but only one side remembered it, and they had no reason to tell anyone. The galaxy believed war was about destruction. Humans knew better. War was about control. Control of space, control of information, control of memory. And so the battle that never existed ended, not with fire, not with glory, but with silence so complete that even history looked away.
The galaxy did not accept silence easily. At first, leaders believed the missing fleet would return late. Delays happened, jump errors happened, even disasters happened. But disappearance? That was different. Days turned into weeks. Still nothing. The Galactic Council ordered a full investigation. Not one search, many. They sent scout fleets. They sent science vessels. They sent listening probes. All of them went to the same place: human space. The probes crossed the border carefully. They detected trade signals, civilian traffic, peaceful activity. No weapons fire, no damage. Nothing suggested a battle. The probes scanned deeper. Radiation levels were normal. Gravitational fields were stable. Time flow was clean. Space looked untouched. It was as if the missing fleet had never entered. Council scientists were confused. "This is impossible," one said. "A battle of that size must leave scars." Another replied quietly, "Unless someone removed them." The room fell silent. Commander Vareth was called again. He stood before the council, older now, wearier. "We are not searching for wreckage," he said. "We are searching for absence." "What does that mean?" a council member asked. Vareth pointed to the star map. "There should be chaos here. Instead, there is order." The council demanded answers from humans. Formal messages were sent. Polite questions, neutral tone, careful words. Human responses arrived quickly, too quickly. They were short, clear, boring. No hostile contact recorded. No fleet encountered. No unusual activity detected. Each message was correct. That was the problem. Trade guilds were questioned next. Human merchants showed clean logs. Arrival times matched. Cargo lists matched. Nothing unusual. Independent pilots reported nothing strange, just quiet space. One pilot said something odd, though. It felt like flying through a place that had been wiped clean, like someone had erased fingerprints from space. The report was marked as emotional, then ignored. Archivist Trellin worked without rest. He reviewed old records again. This was not the first time something like this had happened. Smaller fleets, patrol groups, border forces. Each case was unclear. Each time, humans were nearby. Each time, the galaxy moved on. Until now. Trellin created a hidden comparison file. Patterns emerged. Where humans fought, records weakened. Where humans defended, history blurred. Where humans won, memory failed. His hands shook. Humans are not hiding battles. They are removing them. Across the galaxy, rumors spread. Whispers in spaceports, stories among soldiers. Do not enter human space. Fleets disappear there. They fight without being seen. Some laughed. Others listened. A minor empire decided to test the rumors. They sent a small war group toward a human border system. Not an attack, just a show of force. The ships crossed the border, then stopped. They turned back. No reason given, no explanation. Later, their commander resigned. He never spoke of what he saw. Fear began to change behavior.
Trade routes shifted away from human systems. Military exercises were canceled near human space. Fleet commanders requested reassignment. The galaxy did not know what humans could do. That uncertainty was worse than any known weapon. The Council held an emergency session. Some demanded sanctions, others demanded isolation, a few demanded war. Commander Vareth stood one final time. "War requires understanding," he said. "We do not understand humans." "So what do we do?" someone asked. Vareth answered slowly, "We respect silence." In human space, none of this caused alarm. Human systems noticed the changes. Trade declined slightly. Foreign ships kept distance. Human analysts noted it, filed it, moved on. The human commander reviewed a report. "Galactic Fear Index rising," an officer said. The commander nodded. "Good. Should we respond?" "No," she said. "Fear without direction is safer than fear with answers." The Galactic Archives updated classification files. Humanity's profile changed. Not aggressive, not peaceful, unpredictable. That word frightened many. Archivist Trellin wrote one final secret note. "The galaxy fears destruction. Humans fear repetition." He sealed the file. The search for answers continued, but every question led back to silence. Every investigation ended in nothing. And slowly, the galaxy learned a painful lesson. Sometimes the absence of evidence is not a mystery. It is a warning. As stars continued to burn and ships continued to fly, one truth spread quietly across the galaxy. Humans were not loud conquerors. They were careful erasers. And whatever happened to that fleet, the galaxy was never meant to know.
The galaxy changed after the fleet disappeared. Not suddenly, not loudly, slowly, like a quiet fear spreading from system to system. Military academies rewrote their lessons. Human space was no longer used as a safe example. It became a question mark. Fleet commanders avoided routes near human systems. Scouts adjusted jump paths. Even pirates changed direction. No one ordered these changes. They happened naturally, because no one wanted to be next. Commander Vareth retired soon after. Before leaving, he recorded a private message for future leaders. "Power is not what you see," he said. "Power is what you cannot challenge." The message was archived. Many requested access. Few were allowed. Archivist Trellin continued his work, but he was no longer the same. He understood now that history had limits. It could only record what was allowed to exist. Humans had proven that. One night, he stood alone in the archives, staring at the empty record. An entire fleet, gone. No lesson, no story, no warning, except silence. Across human space, life remained normal. Ships traded goods. Stations repaired travelers. Children learned history. But human history classes taught something different. They taught restraint. They taught responsibility. They taught one rule above all others. If we must fight, make sure no one else has to learn how. In a secure human council chamber, leaders reviewed the final long-term report. "Galactic behavior stable," an analyst said. "Hostile intent near zero. Fear levels remain high." One leader asked, "Any retaliation risk?" "No," the analyst replied. "They are afraid to act." The leader nodded.
then the objective is complete. A younger officer hesitated. Should we tell them? Should we explain what happened? The room grew quiet. An older leader answered calmly, "No." Why? Because understanding invites testing, and testing invites war. The humans never issued threats. They never sent warnings. They never claimed victory. Instead, they allowed the galaxy to imagine the worst. That imagination was enough. Years passed. Empires rose and fell. Wars started, far from human space. When conflict spread too close, something strange happened. It stopped. Leaders reconsidered. Fleets withdrew. Negotiations resumed. Humanity never spoke, but everyone listened. A galactic historian once wrote, "We feared human weapons. We later learned we feared human choices." The book was banned in several systems, but the idea spread anyway. On a distant world, a young alien cadet asked his instructor a question. "Why don't we fight humans?" The instructor paused, then answered honestly, "Because we don't know how they win." In the Galactic Council chamber, a new rule was quietly added. No military action near human space without unanimous approval. That approval was never given. Archivist Traylon finally closed the empty file. He labeled it with a single word: resolved. No explanation followed. Far away, the stars where the fleet vanished still shone. They looked ordinary, but to those who knew, that region of space carried a meaning deeper than any monument. It was proof. Proof that humanity did not conquer through force. They conquered through control. Control of space, control of fear, control of memory. The galaxy had learned many lessons from war, but the greatest lesson came from a battle that never existed. That lesson was simple. If humans fight you, you may lose. If humans erase you, no one will ever know why. And so the unspoken rule spread across the stars. Do not challenge the species that leaves no records. Do not threaten the ones who do not warn. Do not fight humans, because if they ever decide to fight back, history itself will forget you existed.